Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Questions with Kurt. So amidst all the politics, controversy, terrorism, and a seemingly divided atmosphere that's becoming more and more prominent in America and the world today, I wanted to discuss the question of what makes America great in the most objective and unbiased way that I can. And I say as objective and as unbiased as possible because obviously I'm extremely biased. Being a descendant of the Philippines, a former American colony, my people and I, for several generations, have been raised to look up to America, American culture, American values, much like a lot of the world today. And I see this with most Filipinos, including my parents and grandparents. We all equate America to opportunity, righteousness, and superiority. We all want to live here, clearly. Doing my best to separate myself from my strongly colonized mindset, I wanted to talk about what does make America great. America has a very troubled past. It has a history of colonization, killing, torture, slavery, stealing land from indigenous people, which people like me who live here now have become complicit in. Even though I'm not white and I'm a Filipino descendant of American oppression, I'm now living on and benefiting from stolen land. We humans as a collective have had a very disturbing and troubled history, and I've thought about this a lot, and we can never really undo history. It's already history. All those bad things already happened. We can't erase the injustice, the suffering, or the loss of innocent lives. But what we can do as humans is try to correct for the imbalance and the injustice that still happens today because of what happened in the past. And in that sense, America is great. Because regardless of the problematic mindsets and conflicts I see today, I do see progress, and I see the problems being acknowledged. And I do have faith that we will eventually overcome them. America has to answer for and address a lot of issues that most of the world does not have to face. I feel like a lot of people criticize America for being racist, anti-immigrant, religiously intolerant, and misogynistic, which is all true. But I don't think any more so than the rest of the world. In my mind, these problems are at least being acknowledged and somewhat addressed in the US. I've lived in the Philippines, India, Zimbabwe, and in the US, and just from my anecdotal experiences, yes, America is racist, steeped in white supremacy and misogyny. But it sort of pales in comparison compared to the white supremacy and misogyny I saw in India or like Zimbabwe. White supremacy is not even questioned in those countries. White superiority and white privilege was sort of like a default rule of thumb. During the 2 years I spent in Zimbabwe, I literally saw 0 interracial couples. The sheer idea of it just seemed so preposterous for most of the people I knew. And the things I've heard from white Zimbabweans talking about black people, or even the general anti-blackness in India or the Philippines, would make the KKK and alt-right groups here in the US sound progressive. And yes, America is very sexist and misogynistic, but nowhere near the amount of sexism that I've seen in other parts of the world. India's rape culture and income inequality is much, much worse. And in Zimbabwe, one thing I did notice was that they still use this arcane British colonizer practice of calling boys by their last name and girls by their first name in school. Apparently because girls would marry and take on their husband's last name anyway, so they might as well get used to being referred to by their first name and not their last name. It's just interesting to me looking back on this practice because to me I see this as a priming for women from a very early age to attach their identity to men. So it's nice to see more and more women now questioning this practice and keeping their last name even after marriage. I don't think America in and of itself is more progressive, more advanced, or more forward-thinking than the rest of the world, but I argue that what makes it unique and what makes it great is that its history has forced it to confront problematic thinking and unjust practices sooner and to a greater extent than other places in the world. It's been this beacon of freedom and hope for such a long time, and it's been the melting pot and land of opportunity for over 200 years that so many people from all over the world have been flocking here looking for a better life. And as a result, America has been forced to deal with the problems that arise when humans of different tribes are forced to cohabitate and compete for limited resources and limited opportunities. But it has also resulted in the greatest minds coming here, advancements in healthcare and technology that a lot of people like me and people all over the world benefit from and enjoy. On the bad side, America does not have universal healthcare or free higher education, which the US is constantly criticized for. Yet somehow most of the world still wants to come and study here if they get the opportunity to. Or when people want top-of-the-line cutting-edge healthcare, people still look to the USA. I'm arguing that if you took people from all over the world in the same numbers and extent as in the US and put them all in one place anywhere else in the world with all of their preconceived notions, traditions, religions, sense of pride and closed-mindedness with people set in their ways, you would end up with the same problems, if not worse, than what we have in the US. Believe it or not, I've actually heard comments and arguments saying that European countries or other developed countries like Australia or New Zealand are somehow less racist and less divided than America. And even if that's true, that's only because the white people there, the descendants of Christian colonizers who live there, still have a strong hold on their power, their privilege, their religion, their superiority, and do not feel threatened. Not yet anyway. The world is changing, and I just wonder how those countries will handle globalization and people of color demanding equality and slowly decolonizing their minds in the years to come. And I'm not saying that conflict is a good thing, and I'm not saying that conflict is what makes America great. But what I am saying is that learning how to deal with the conflict, the injustice, the inequality, and reconciling the differences between people, that's what makes America great. I am very disturbed and saddened by the rise of white nationalism in America, and that some white women continue to vote against their interests as women in order to maintain the white male patriarchy that they continue to benefit from. I think whenever you have a group that's in power or a group that has the upper hand, however they got that advantage, either through force or whatnot, when that power is threatened, that group that's in power will always resist change. But the change is inevitable because the majority of people will always want and yearn for equality and justice and rights. And America has been put in this very unique situation of facing those changes more than anywhere else in the world. But I am confident that America will figure it out and that equality will win out in the end. That's all the thoughts I have on this topic. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, if you agree or disagree. I know that this is a somewhat controversial topic to talk about. Those are my personal viewpoints. But yeah, I'd love to have a discussion about it. And also let me know what other questions you want to hear discussed in the future. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.